Hello everyone, greetings from PayTap's technical support team. In this series, you will learn how to integrate with PayTaps through our PT2 API endpoints. Throughout the series, we will walk you through the second integration type, which is the invoices. And for the purpose of this series, we have created a very simple Laravel project to walk you through the integration process. But feel free to follow the steps in this series with your own project, whatever the programming language or the frameworks used to integrate with PayTaps. So, let's get started. In this video, we are going to start learning about the payment workflow for our invoices integration type, and we are also going to learn some basic information about the invoices, and we are going to take a look about how it looks, and finally we are going to learn more about the project structure that we are going to use throughout this series. So let's get started. The first thing you should know that you can find the full documentation for this part inside PayTap support portal under the article called the Invoices APIs Integration Manual. Now, let's start by learning what is an invoice. As clarified over here in this section, you can see that an invoice is a document that you send to your client after purchasing goods or services from your side, and this document will be represented both as a means of recording the sale and also requesting payment from your client. So, this is the key difference between an invoice and a receipt. The receipt is after the payment is done. An invoice can be used as a mean of requesting the payment from your clients, and also it will be mean of recording the sale itself, the items that your client has sold, maybe some dates, some extra information, customer reference, and a lot of features that PayTaps can offers you to provide inside your invoices, and we are going to learn all about these features inside this series. But for now, we just want to learn what the invoices is. Actually, if you want to learn more about our invoices, we have a fully dedicated solution article that clarify the invoices to you. The solution article is named What is PayTap's Invoices? Now, you can see over here, if we navigate to this part, that our invoices is not only applicable through our APIs, but it can be also managed through your merchant dashboard. So you can create and manage your invoices both through our APIs, which we will be clarifying in this series, and also it can be managed through your merchant dashboard. Now, reaching this part, if you want to learn more about the invoices itself, you can check our solution article, What is PayTap's Invoices? Now, if we get back to the Invoices APIs, which we are going to learn more about in this video, you will see over here in step 3 that we have the first part talking and teaching us about the payment workflow. And let's get an idea about what is happening inside the invoices payment workflow. So basically, our invoices follow or adapt the hosted payment page mechanism. So simply, you will be creating an invoice through our API, then you will receive a link for this invoice. You will be sending this link to your invoicer or to your clients who will be invoiced by your or by this invoice. After that, they will be once they click on the pay button that we will see in a moment, they will be redirecting to our payment page. They will be asked to fulfill the payment, and once they fulfill the payment, the invoice will be paid, and the customer will be able to get redirected back to your store or any place that you provide inside the request. This is a simple idea about the payment workflow for our invoices. But let's have a more clear version and simple one actually about the invoices APIs. Now, if we get back to the second part over here, which is initiating the payment, we will see that you can initiate invoices via two endpoints, via the invoice endpoint, which we will be mostly clarifying in this series, and another endpoint, which is the normal payment endpoint. So let's have a small test for the invoice endpoint and how the invoice looks. Now, you can download our Postman from here, which will have the collection for the invoices, and you can immediately start testing it. And once you download it from here, you can navigate to the Postman, and you will see that we will be sending a request that looks like this to an endpoint that looks like this. Now, We will be learning more about this request and all the details inside it in the future of this series, but for now we want to just take the simple idea. We are sending a request to an endpoint. By doing that, we will be receiving an invoice link and an invoice ID, of course. Now, then you can use this link. If we copy this link like this, you can use this link to send it to your, let's say, I have added a quotation mark over here. I'll be moving it. Let's say this link you will be then using it to send it to your clients or saving it until the expiration date for it or the due date for it and send it to your clients, and your client will be receiving something that looks like this. It has an item, it has an amount, it has a date, it has an issuer date, it has an invoice number, it has the details that we will be learning about. But once they receive, they approve the payment, they'll be able to click on Pay Now, and after that, they will be redirecting to the normal payment page that looks like this. They will be fulfilling the payment, clicking on Pay Now, and once they are done, they will be redirected back to your customers, or back to your website, actually, sorry. So this is a simple idea of the invoices that we are going to be learning throughout the following videos and throughout this series. So the next thing that I want to, or we want to learn more about in this video, is the structure of the project that we are going to use. We have created, as clarified before, a very simple Laravel project. We will be walking you through the parts of this project, so in the future of this series you don't get maybe hassled or worry about this part, what is happening here or what is happening there, but in general this is what is happening. We are creating a request, we are sending it to an endpoint, and we are receiving the response. Then we are sending this payment link or this invoice link actually to our customers. So actually you are free to integrate this payment workflow in the way that suits you, is the programming language that suits you, but I'm showing you how we have done it in this simple project. So at first we have created a very simple view over here that looks like this. It's a very simple checkout page. Actually, I want to navigate to the invoice one. Yes, that is. It's a very simple checkout page. It has maybe some item details like these. It has some customer details. I'll be sending some extra information like payment type. Finally, it will be just a form that I am sending to my backend. This form can contain as many details as you want. Eventually, we will be validating these details and putting what suits in the right place. So this is our view. This is our form. Then I am sending this form request to my controller over here, my payment controller. I am firstly, of course, validating it. I have created an invoice request validator, and we can take a look at this validator over here. You will see I'm just commenting most of these validation option, but actually it's optional for you because we will learn more about what is required and what is not in the future videos. But for now, this is the validator that I'm using. Now back to our controller. Once my request is validated based on the rules that I have provided in this class, I will be sending my request to the payment repository into a function called process request. Now, if we navigate to the payment repository over here, we will see that we have a process request function over here that takes the request from our views or from our controller actually, then pass it to a data wrapper. Now, the data wrapper is the one that is responsible for creating the body of the request that we are going to send. Now, if we navigate it to the data wrapper over here, we will see first, before going to the final data wrapper, I have initiated some, let's say, some generation function to generate an object like the customer details, like the shipping details, like the user defined. I'm then finally, after creating this object, I'll be sending it to the process request function over here, or the final generation function, to create the final payload. So I'm taking the request. We will be learning, of course, about what is line items, what is all of these details we will be learning about, but we are just here to learn about how it looks. After taking the request, filtering in the correct way, I'm creating the final payload that I'll be sending to the endpoint, the PayTaps endpoint. After that, I'm returning this payload back to my repository. Now, once the payload is ready from the data wrapper, I'll be sending it, of course, I'll be changing it to an array first. Then I'll be sending it to my trait, which is called send payment request. Now, you can see inside the send request trait over here, I'm using a very simple client, HTTP client. It's called HTTP client actually. I am just getting some configuration detail like the domain and the endpoint, the region, all these details I have provided both inside my environment and inside my configuration file over here. You will see that inside my configuration file I have all the endpoints, I have some of the required parameters that I can use whenever I want. I have just specified the endpoint over here, then I have sent this payload over here into the payment request, and I have returned the response that's coming from this pay tabs. I have returned the body of it, I have decoded it in a JSON format. Then I have, of course, returned it back to my payment repository, and from my payment repository, I have returned it back to my controller, which in return I'll be creating or checking if it has an invoice link. I will be redirecting my customer to this invoice link. If not, it will be redirecting to an error page. So this is simply the project structure. Throughout the series, we will be getting to work with different parts of this project. We will be changing some parts. We will learning about new parameters. Just carry on in this series and you will learn every or most of the things that you need inside the Invoices APIs. So let's move forward.